The following is a list of Moors who have been kidnapped and are being held for a demand of income. The demand of income is being made by against the family, as well as through fraudulent submissions of documents alleging that they are caring for the people in some sort of long-term care fashion. These Moors have been kidnapped literally off the street by employees of various corporations that are guised as county, city, town, township, borough. These names that we have all been mentally conditioned to believe are government are not. They are exactly what they say they are. They are municipal corporations. And as such, if you do the research, you will find that they are foreign corporations on American soil. Therefore, they do not have standing nor jurisdiction to make a demand of income from the Aboriginal Indigenous people or any people on American soil. This making their actions criminal. However, as Moors, we must bring these crimes to the forefront via civil complaints against the unalienable constitutional treaty secured rights of the people, Aboriginal Indigenous Moors of this land. So we start out with our sister Abkare Bay, who was kidnapped through a joint venture between Memphis Corporation and Shelby Corporation under the purview of Tennessee. Now, we say under the purview of Tennessee, which is a union state, because every union state is bound and obligated to protect the people from foreign and domestic invasion. We then have Daoud Ill under the purview of Arkansas. And if we don't have the municipal corporation that actually did the kidnapping, then we just reference the union state that is bound and obligated to protect the people. We have Amir Muslimin Ill and Kusu Ra Kushbe under the purview of Missouri. We have Asar Patan Amin Ra Bay under the purview of Ohio. We have Jeremy Paler Ill, Terry Thorne Bay, J. Mikal Brooks Bay, Joseph Kanaday Ill, Kush Amir Bunch Ill, Emmanuel Billings Bay, Yassin Khalik Alamin Ill, Michael Curry Bay, all being held under the purview of North Carolina. Noble Crisco Ill under the purview of New Jersey. Messiah Aziz Ill and Crystal Ill, both kidnapped through a joint venture between Mercer, Freehold, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We're still waiting on an update of the infant baby of Patricia Bay, which was kidnapped by the Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We have Eldridge Teron Fisher Ill and Martise Sevillon Ill under the purview of Indiana. Solomon Ill Bay and Mumi Abu Bay under the purview of Texas. William Barrett Ill under the purview of Virginia. Womani Abidwil Ill, kidnapped by Chesapeake Corporation under the purview of Virginia. Chere Bay, kidnapped under the purview of West Virginia. Thomas Lee Bay, kidnapped under the purview of California. Victor Eduardo Evaye Juarez Ill, kidnapped by Holland Corporation under the purview of Georgia. And then last but not least, I have one last more. Twain Bay, kidnapped. Let's see, I'm not sure if I have the information of who. Oh, kidnapped by Harnett Corporation under the purview of North Carolina. So there we have Moors that have been kidnapped and are being held hostage by employees of various corporations on American soil, which is a violation of the American Constitution, and it is a treaty violation. And being that we are talking about Moorish Americans, Aboriginal indigenous to this land, who are being kidnapped by foreign employees of a foreign corporation on American soil, this makes this an international issue, because you have two nations with one nation warring against another. Therefore, this is an international issue. If you have a family member near or far within your immediate family, or one of the family that you know and you would like them added to this list, please send an email to MHHS-Eyes-Wide-Open@gmail.com. In the subject line, put kidnapped Moor, and please provide us with their free national appellation, the municipal corporation that the employee is operating through that kidnapped them, along with the union's corporation is in purview too. All righty. Thank you very much. Islam, Islam, Islam. And welcome to MHHS-Eyes Wide Open. This is your host, Anna-Ida L., along with my co-host, Ms. Naim Alice L.
Hello, family. Peace and love, Anna-E. I just want to salute your DJ skills on the intro. Good one. Go ahead, let that pass by. It's good.
Yes. Roz Mariah Bay.
Islam, peace, and love to all.
And Cujo Adwael.
Islam to all the Moors. Islam Moors on the panel. Peace and love.
Islam.
All right. Islam. Wow. You know what? It's great playing that before we even get, into the subject, because, once we start talking, we can just jump right in.
Absolutely.
I want to send first of all, I want to let all our internet listeners know that the chat room is open. Big shout out to our family listening near the Great Britain Corporation, peace and love. Family near the South Africa Corporation, the Japan Corporation, the Netherlands Corporation. Shout out to Brother Alvestead out there, peace and love. Family listening near the Philippine Corporation, near the Mexico Corporation, Venezuela Corporation, Cuba Corporation. We can't forget our family listening out there near the Canaanland Corporation. They've been listening for a long time. And, of course, to family that we have yet to connect with, peace and love. Thank you for joining, listening via the internet, as well as making any comments to help, keep the information straight in the chat room. Thanks to our chat room listeners and those chat rooms there, those Moors that are in the chat room, keeping the, holding it down with the definitions and such. Thank you so much. Big shout out to our callers calling in every week, filling up the lines before the show even gets started. Thank you so much to all the family who joins us in one fashion or another, lending us their energy, joining in the conversation, sharing information as we together uplift all in humanity. Thank you. All right. today is the 12th of July, 1436, Moorish calendar. And then I don't even know what to call the other calendar date now that Julie has set us straight about this Gregorian date that has no reference with a calendar. But today it's modernly called 2016, even though in actuality it's 1436. Today's broadcast is in conjunction with the Final Call series, and it's regarding an audio or a clip that we got of a sister that appears to have changed her tune. We don't know because we're not quite sure of what the timeline is, but we can speculate because on a previous show we talked about this particular sister who was on another Moorish media, and and she's an Asiatic sister, and she was just really making fun to me of the Moors and how they come into the court and how we just let them talk, and then when the judge says, "Are you finished?" and then we just proceed, and she was very arrogant and uninformed. And now we get this latest, what appears to be a more recent state, and she is angry. It appears as though she's angry and her anger is because it sounds as though she's now realizing her part in the kidnapping and imprisoning of Asiatic sons that she diligently did for like 5 years. And now all of a sudden, with all these Asiatic sons being murdered and the recording being literally recorded and published so that people can see it, now all of a sudden, since I think she has like a 12-year-old son, she's concerned. But it's like maybe, I'm not sure if she was concerned when she was putting children and young Asiatic sons in prison for 5 years, but now she's concerned. And she, what was interesting to me about the clip was that she expressed information about how these so-called municipal hearings that are misclassified as municipal court really is a joke, or I can't remember her exact words, but she is telling you that she participated in this farce for 5 years and appears to continue to participate in this farce where they are literally kidnapping the people off the street in order to generate revenue. This particular broadcast is entitled "Our Municipal Employees Who Go to Great Lengths to Imprison the People of the Land Really Remorseful Regarding Their Part in the Enslavement of Their Own People?" Question mark.
Well,
it may sound like they are. However, to put things in perspective, we must ask a few questions. One, once you realize the job you have is operating outside of law and is a, quote, joke, end quote, or a, quote, game, end quote, did you seek employment elsewhere? Number two, did you come to this realization before or after you helped imprison thousands of your own people? Three, once you came to this realization, or even before, did you ever think what happened to the people who are your own people once you had them in prison? And last, did you ever check on their conditions? Now, I send out a request for everyone to join us as we investigate and analyze just a few of these enormous revelations. Because, this is my thing, and we really have to look at this. Because years ago I said, when I worked for a major insurance company, we are all, every last one of us, who in some way, shape, or form receive a paycheck behind working for one of these modern European corporations, because we don't work for any of our own people. We don't work for any of our own corporations. This entire infrastructure is situated where we all seem to have some form of job working for a modern European. Some of it is more heinous than others, all right? But I remember when I worked at a major insurance company and I realized just how the people were being treated, I realized that we all, in one form or another, worked for, at that time I was calling it the devil, because our actions were oppressing our own people. And the sad thing is, every means that is set up by these modern Europeans for us to generate or to obtain these unlawful Federal Reserve notes is tied into us participating in the suppression and attack of our own family members. So we have to, once we realize to what degree we're participating, do we make a conscious effort to find employment in some other means, some other way that is less, lessens your participation in the tearing down of your own people? It's something to think about. But before we start this discussion, if I may, I would like to play this audio clip. It's actually a video clip, but I converted it to audio so that I can upload it and everybody listen to this conversation. It's like a candid conversation, impromptu, that this unconscious Asiatic sister has in her conveyance or while traveling, and for whatever reason she posted it, and it got around. So let's all take a listen, and then we will start our discussion.
I need to share this with you. Y'all know I'm a lawyer, I'm a former prosecutor, and I'm currently a defense attorney. I was a prosecutor in Manhattan, New York City. So let me explain to you, because we are getting a lot of feedback about these grand juries that are not indicting these police officers, and you need to understand something. The first thing you need to understand is that a grand jury presentation is an ex parte proceeding. What does that mean, Ike? Don't talk that lawyer shit. Okay, ex parte means one-sided. That means that there's only one side being presented in the grand jury. There is nothing to controvert or contradict what the prosecutor is putting in a grand jury, unless a defendant chooses to exercise his right to testify in the grand jury. And even then, the defendant is allowed to come in with counsel, but you as an attorney, me as an attorney, when I escort clients into the grand jury, I am not even allowed to fucking speak. Do you hear me? I'm not allowed to say shit. If I want to confer with my client, because he might not be sure how to answer a question, we got to step outside and come back in. The grand jury, the entire presentation is controlled, is orchestrated by the prosecutor. The evidence that goes in, the witnesses that go in, how the evidence is presented, the spin. Prosecutors control the grand jury. There's no judicial oversight. Now, that's not till after you got an indictment. There's no judicial oversight about how the case is going to be presented, what witnesses are going to be presented, what charges are going to be presented. All of that is at the exclusive discretion of the prosecutor. Exclusive. If a prosecutor wants to get an indictment, bet your ass they will get it. They will get it because that saying, it doesn't take anything to indict a ham sandwich, is fucking true. It doesn't take anything, and I'm a former prosecutor. 5 years, I indicted motherfuckers for 5 whole years. Okay? And I'm telling you, it don't take shit to do it. So the fact that Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, the most recent one, and all the others that have been down the line that have come back with what's called a no true bill, meaning that there is no indictment, meaning the case is over and the case is dismissed, that's orchestrated. Okay? Understand that shit. Know that that's orchestrated. Okay? Be pissed off. If you're going to be pissed off about something, the legislatures need to change the way grand jury presentations are conducted. They shouldn't be ex parte proceedings. It shouldn't be so that the defense has you have no representation. There are some times where indictments are being presented or evidence in the grand jury and you don't even know. Okay? They have secret proceedings. Okay? And the whole grand jury presentation is fucking secret. Right? Secret. What'd that tell you? Anytime some shit is done in the secret, in the dark, the chances for abuse. I mean, damn. It's like, how fucking dumb do they expect us to be? We can't, I don't want to fight no more. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck. I'm done with this shit. You can't keep banging your head against a wall and expecting the wall to give. That shit is cement. These people hate us. They hate us. They are killing not just us. They're not killing just our men. They're not killing just our women. They are killing our children. I have a 12-year-old son. I live in Nassau County. We're allowed to have airsoft fucking guns. Airsoft pistols, BB guns. I won't let my son take one of those guns outside of our house. I have to sit him down and make sure he understands that your little white friend that you play with, he could play with the gun outside. You can't. You can't. This is fucking America. Fuck America. Fuck y'all, because y'all been fucking us for hundreds of years, and Ike is fucking tired.
Well, all right then. I apologize.
I have my hand up.
I ought to have premised that with, a language disclaimer for anybody who might have their children listening. I absolutely apologize. There's no way I could have edited that out, but usually if there is going to be, inappropriate language, I do let everyone know, and I do apologize for that. But
I'm right there.
There was so many things. I know, and you know what? For once, I'm going to be quiet and let everybody else put it on the table.
Well, I'd like to start because first of all, I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Go ahead, good Joe.
Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say this. This is as far as the sister's concerned, this is not an attack on her personally. However, I'd like to think that her coming to this realization, whether it was before she was put up on the Nationality TV interview, that was the attorney that, was talking trash, actually that didn't understand what the law really was. So I don't know if this, we don't know if this is before or after that. You know what I'm saying? Because he could have taped it before because it was a month apart and then didn't display it until later. However, I trust for her, this is what I would say for her, is that as she has come to this realization that it's all apparently one-sided, which we'll tell people why that is, that in the near future, if not already, she will realize that her working as an attorney or working for these corporations is something that she would realize that that's who she's working for, that she is in fact not working for a judicial system or for the judicial system, which is why she's finding this out. So clearly she's proven it, because the first thing I noticed is when she said that even as an attorney, when she brings her client into a so-called grand jury hearing, she cannot speak. Hello, everyone. attorneys can only speak for fictions and corporations. So if someone has decided I'm coming into a grand jury, at least they're to some minimization, I guess, holding on to the fact that the person who is the alleged defendant must speak for himself, even though they're going to one-side it anyway. So that right there stuck out for me, and we've been telling people, she's talking about a supposedly higher court or grand jury. But when you go to these inferior tribunals, meetings room, municipalities, counties, etc., and even states, so-called state courts, you will see that they don't even give a good hoot. They'll let the attorney come in and speak for you because they don't respect you as a flesh and blood being anywho. They just do not. So all that she's done this far is proven what, and she's in the system, so she knows, and it's frustrating her. So her feelings are not unlike any other mother or woman, especially one with children for certain. And the other thing is that she said there is no judicial oversight because it is ex parte, it's bull, then none of them are really operating properly. She also said that what they do is decide that there is that she called it orchestrated. They say that it's thrown out because there's no true bill. See, they're not dealing with law at all. People, please hear us. They're not dealing with law. So all those people who have been in jail, and who've been so-called prosecuted, but it really is, and when we say this, it's not a joke. The people, particularly and especially the Moors, conscious and unconscious of it, the Aboriginal indigenous people, that you can, when they come in a room, you can look and see that they are, in fact, the Aboriginal indigenous people by their various copper tone skin, if nothing else. Well, all of those are, in fact, being attacked, and is the object of making finance. So now she said about secret proceedings. Everyone knows that's the case. They come together and they have their little meetings. Even if you send any paperwork in, they meet behind the scene and try to come back at you with something. And the other thing she said that stood up for me is she said, how dumb do they think we are? A da, and a da-da. Yeah, how about that? Because we as people are absolutely uneducated about law. See, if law was enforced and in place, procedures wouldn't be a problem because the procedures come naturally with the law. So this stuff they're doing is not law. It is not law. So she and whoever else might be in her position are working for the same corporations, thing that needs to be recognized. If she and anyone else in that position are so smart, look up the company that the court that you think you work for, and you will discover, just with a little bit of research, that they're corporations. So the last is something about she's kind of acting like she's giving up, but the only thing is this. She's saying, screw America. And see, that's where status and who you are comes in. If she only knew that she is a lineal descendant of the Aboriginal indigenous true American, then she would understand that these people that she's working for, as you said, Anna E., are foreign corporations pretending to be courts, pretending to have a delegation of authority to adjudicate on the natural people. I trust that will be the next step that will be founded. Now, that means that she'll probably feel a little, her and anyone else, a little uncomfortable about the good, cushy job that they thought they had. But that's not really what they had. And with that, I wanted to add, and that she will also discover, as I hope everyone else does, that being the Aboriginal Indigenous More American National is not being but we're going to talk about later, but that's another thing going around, being Indians. No. So if she studied the Constitution, and here's what's interesting. Here's a person who for 5 years has been putting people away, calling herself an attorney, and a judicial officer or whatever, and hasn't even comprehended what the damn law of the land is. This is a disgrace. And I think that anybody that gets in this position and then comes to these realizations must feel disgraced or will feel so. So we trust that, everything will work out. I just wrote those notes down. Islam. I yield the floor.
Islam.
Wow.
The only thing I was going to touch on was American, but you slapped that up pretty good. The other,
well, you can add to it and say it again, okay? Because everybody, no, say it again because everyone says, "Oh, screw America! America's been messing with us." And it's real clear that they need to recognize, no, the job you're working for is not the American people. They are corporations. They are members/citizens of the United States of America, which is a specific group of people that came over here with the British as slaves to work on plantations. And once it was specifically formed that they would come up under the styled as the United States of America. You know what? If you're in law, right, all parties must be identified. So we just identified them. So that's not America. That's not the American national government. That is not the American law. Go ahead, you can go ahead and enforce that again if you wish to.
Yeah, because I was also looking at too how the same thing that we have this individual who, quote unquote, works for the system and realize that she's been assisting the fraudulent system, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was looking at recently how with the shootings and stuff going on that all the rappers and entertainers now are front page, getting their little photo ops. When they were rapping about, having 5 girls and, going to strip clubs, throwing money, they weren't worried about nobody getting shot then. It wasn't an issue. But now all of a sudden, are they really recognizing that something's wrong? Are they a patsy sent out to get people to, consider what some of these people are saying, but not recognize that, well, if she's been selling you guys out for the past 5 years, selling you out and coming out openly now and saying, yeah, I used to sell you guys out, but now I figured out something, and you expect her to get a pass? She sold out. How much lives did she ruin? Under the guise of working for them. But she was already working on their side.
Right.
Right? Beyond being an officer of the court, she was working on their side.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Right? So and this is why it's like her whole thing talking about the ex parte to the end when she's talking about her son. Everything that she said in that thing had to do with status.
Yes. Tell it.
But then she's going to go on Buddy's couch and say that status correction is bullshit.
She did say that.
But everything that she's complaining about is based in status. Do you have a status? What is your status? Oh, your status as attorney? Shut the hell up because this is grand jury. You have nothing to say in there.
That's right.
Because you have no status.
That's
right. And in that instance, you can't even correct your status. That's just how you are in that jurisdiction. You don't have a say. That's just what it is. But that's something that's established because that's their corporate policy.
Exactly.
That's their personal corporate policy.
And they'll be the first to be. And just add, they'll be the first to be unseated. It sounds like she's feeling about that she's being unseated, doesn't it?
Right. But again, it's like if the individual comes to the realization and decides to say something about it and then continues on in that direction, all right, cool. But, because it's popular to be controversial right now.
Really?
You know? It's not a heart thing. It's a popularity thing. You know what I mean? You know, like who can black fist the best?
Yeah.
Mm.
Who can get the response? You know, but all they're doing is pacifying the people because they know that you know the people's influence could be swayed. But then when the influence is swayed, it's leading them right back to where they came from. It's not taking them anywhere out of what they're complaining about.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like think of all the people, right? Go check the video. That video had like 1 million hits or whatever.
Wow.
Because people are wow, attorney said that. But Moore's been saying that for the past 30 years. What are you guys talking about?
Mm.
That's not something new. That these guys are running a fraud, and then you know ex parte like that. That's not something that people shouldn't know. So why don't they know? And if she's on the inside and she's telling, just like Sherry Jackson, who was IRS, she was raping people for how much ever years she raped people for the IRS. Raped people, took people's house, all type of stuff. And then all of a sudden just comes out. All of a sudden just comes out, and then now, oh yeah, she's the savior of the black people because she figured out the stuff. She came and told us everything. Okay, but what about all the stuff what about all the raping that she did? You're not going to hold her responsible?
Well, actually, you know, we as a people, you know, the universe is such a beautiful and exact thing because the people didn't have to hold her accountable because the universe did. And with this sister here, I don't even want to begin to think what type of retribution justice is coming her way for the 5 years, just the 5 years. Mm-hmm. She ruined millions, thousands of people's lives on multiple levels.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even want to think. I don't even want to think about what's coming her way because, look, if you know more science, you know it's coming. If you read the King Alfred Plan, you know it's coming. If you read the prophecies and the statements of noble prophet Jew Ali, you know it's coming. So, I mean, she ain't telling us nothing new, but it's interesting to hear her give away certain pieces of information that we did not have. We know that they lock us out, which means they're violating our due process of law, but she just gave us some information as to exactly how, you know, they do that. You know, they were little nuggets, but nonetheless, it was information that can be used. That's about all I got from this. I'm not down with her emotion, because to me, what I feel like is she felt like she was privileged for a long time, including her child, until she realized, no, they will shoot your child as well. And now she you know, because for a long time it used to be that if you volunteered to be on the wrong team, they set you up nice and they protected you. But that has been gone for a minute now. There ain't no protection for none of them because they're losing so much finance. And Joe, I'm sorry. I think I interrupted your train of thought. So I just had to say that. But continue, please.
No, you're good. You're good. No, it's just that, like I'm just at the place of the people have to start realizing for themselves.
Yes.
You know, like it can't be people telling you.
Word.
It can't be people telling you, whether on the inside, whether it can't be that, because the spirit's moving on a certain frequency right now, where things are known at thought.
Yes.
Like I had for example, like I had maybe past week, 3 days, the dreams manifested. Like dream about somebody, see them. You know, that used to be thought. But now it's dream realm manifesting now.
Yeah.
So the shift's happening, and the information that we have for real now is going to start coming from within, because it's obvious that where we're at is where it's about being at, as far as Negro, Black, colored people are concerned. If everybody would vibrate where we're at, tomorrow's everything's done. Tomorrow.
That's the breakfast fight. that Prophet Nubajaroli said. He said, this is the breakfast fight. Thanks for reiterating that.
Tomorrow. And the duty is to uplift fallen humanity. Yeah, we know that many of our people aren't going to make it. You know, many aren't. But that's also why Nubajaroli said, it's for the young and unborn. So forget the old heads. Give the information to the youth so they know.
Yep.
So they could have some peace of mind and know, instead of having to be told stuff. Because once it's like, it's like with processes. People, you know, how do you send a writ, or how do you whatever? This is you have to know. Especially right now, what's going on right now? You better know right now. By now, you better know. You better know for sure that you're not Negro, Black, colored, and you're not slipping and calling yourself Ethiopian and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Don't play. Don't play with these people who's going on stuff and talking about, you know, you're Aboriginal and Indigenous and whatever like that. When Nubajaroli came 100 years ago and told you that you're Moorish American and that you're descendants of Moroccans. People fool you into these jurisdictions that they're creating, because they're creating jurisdictions right now. You thought they were creating jurisdictions before? They're creating jurisdictions right now.
Yeah. And that's what that ethnicity SF-181, which is what we're going to be discussing tomorrow, is about. People keep wanting to read into these charts of how they have classified people. None of that has anything to do with you as a more American national. So that's what we're starting to create. They're just trying to find, what are you calling yourself, so we can classify it. And, you know, it's crazy.
Sure.
Or finding out how many people are not honoring their mothers and fathers yet.
Exactly.
Really.
Exactly.
And that's what it's all based in. That's really what it's all based in. It's just the connection to your ancestors and your nationality. And I say that in conjunction with everything that was already said and listening back to the clip. You know, this is why the Moors, true Americans, have a responsibility to understand language, because language and law, because when it comes time for the get down and you might have to walk before Rome, one thing that you should take from that clip is the fact that nobody can speak for you, not even an attorney. This is why you have to be in your own proper person. This is why you need to understand that you're not Negro, black, or colored for those lawful and legal purposes, because if you don't, we have a whole fake law, like color of law, the Negro Acts and things of that nature, that the Christian black codes that they still implement to this very day on certain levels, metaphysical, physical, and otherwise. So what you need to understand is that it's imperative to study and to have what? The right words, or you must have what? Jurisdiction yourself. It has to walk within you, because at the end of the day, nobody can speak for you. You can't pay somebody to speak for you, specifically if they're within the jurisdiction of those municipalities or those Roman venues or those foreign venues, those Christian venues. Anybody working under them cannot speak for you, and it also must be noted that no matter how much people think they're working for this European and they're getting paid, at the end of the day, you don't have any more respect than anybody else, really, because, as this sister said, she realized herself that they hate us, melanated people. Now, granted, the fact that, or pardon the fact that she blamed America when Americans are only, and by definition mean any of the aboriginals or various copper-complexion natives. That's the definition of Americans. So she's working for a corporation that established themselves post-1492 with Colombo and the rest of the Europeans under Spanish mandates and things of that nature, or orders and approvals and things like that. You're working with corporations that was established on American soil just after, so you're already in the fraudulent jurisdiction. And no matter how much you work for them, they will never see you as more than a servant, as more than an inferior. And there's nothing you could do. Why? Because these are Roman venues. And they have a family first principle. Ask any Italian, and they'll let you know straight up that they have family first principles. So whether they're doing some fraud in a Roman venue that you call superior courts, municipal courts, county courts, state courts, whatever, all of these have a family first principle that's operating in the background. It has nothing to do with Moors. That's just it. Though there's international contracts which, provide obligations and things of that nature. But one of the things that I wanted to point out as well, as far as the sister confessing, as an attorney, a so-called defense attorney, and previously playing the role of a prosecutor for the fictitious states and things of that nature, is the fact that when she flipped side and was going to defense attorney, while she was going to defense attorney, she realized when it came down to a quote-unquote grand jury, she couldn't speak for her clients. And what that ought to prove to Moors is that, yeah, it's nothing new, but it's also an affirmation of a prophecy fulfilled. Why? Because there's no Drew Ali left a lesson for us to really understand in the Circle 7. The reason she can't and no other attorney can speak for you is because the time has come when every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree, but not just that. Every tongue must confess its own, so you have to be able to speak for yourself in these situations. This is the part of being in your own proper natural status, your own self, not any fictitious constructs, not any misrepresentations on paper. The word is God, the word is bond. So if you don't know the language, if you don't know the constitutional text at minimum, it's nothing you could do to really defend yourself. You can't depend on somebody else because they're not even letting attorneys speak for who they're accusing, you know? So there's a point of self-responsibility that goes with this point that should be ameliorated, is that you cannot depend on any, not just any attorney, somebody who's working for them, who's supposed to be for your, advancement and well-being in life, which when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, they can't do nothing for you, family, nothing at all. So this is why there's a certain self-responsibility. This is why Noble Drew Ali was saying that Moors are who and what? Men upright, which is law. You're talking about right. You're talking about math, justice. Also independent, meaning you're not dependent on anybody, not just an attorney. You have to take that self-responsibility, but also know that your nation can back you in that fashion, and we got to do what we got to do. But also to be fearless about it if you ever are in that position. Why? Because you're walking before people who have no jurisdiction, period, whatever the subject matter is. Even if they throw an Asiatic face in front of you as a decoy for your adversaries, know that they still have no jurisdiction just because they're Asiatic working in the Roman venue. That does not give them jurisdiction in any type of fashion. So again, I can't overlook emphasizing the self-responsibility to be competent. Also because she said that, most of these so-called indictments are ex parte, meaning one-sided. Which I say, if you look at the jurisprudence of the Sixth Amendment, that's a violation of the Fifth and Sixth Amendment. Why? Because in all criminal prosecutions, you have the right to be confronted with the witnesses against you, with the confrontation clause, those who are claiming to be witness, those who are claiming to be adversary, those who are saying you committed this act from ab initio, from the beginning to the end, from this inception to the finish. You have a right to be privy with all of these different things. So this is how they do it. They get people, and you can recognize this in the neighborhood or in the so-called hoods. You look in the papers, they're basically kidnapping people under secret indictments, extensive durations of investigations. So they might say, hey, we took a whole community of quote-unquote, and I'm not promoting drug selling, but I'm just saying, for example, they say that we took this whole community out. We got 41 Moors, or they might label them in the paper as black people. We took them out of the community in a quote-unquote drug bust, just for example. And then what you got to realize is they'll say we've been watching them for 41 months or 24 months or whatever it is. But that's because they got something now which they call secret indictments, which goes back to what the sister was saying about these ex parte proceedings. So this is how they get these quote-unquote warrants for surveillance and things like that. All of that is ex parte, every last bit of it. So, that's why you have the right to also be aware of any type of, inquiries and things of that nature. But, again, just to say, like, if they try to go through that process of prosecuting in the court room or otherwise, there's due process of law that has to be respected. The confrontation clause has to be respected, and you have to hold them to that. You have to know that. You can't pay an attorney to tell you that. Even if you pay 20 stacks for an attorney right now, they're never going to tell you that. They're going to handle it on their own merit. They're going to talk to the magi, so-called magi, chambers and have proceedings that you're not privy to. So this is why they say, well, you know, we could reduce a 10 to 15 to a 2 to a 4. You know what I mean? Or something crazy like that, when you shouldn't have been doing any time from the beginning, ab initio. But that goes in conjunction with nationality and birthrights. So again, you have to know the law. You have to know that who the American is, right? Because again, nobody can, attorney, when it comes down to it and your status has to go on the record, you cannot pay an attorney to speak for you before a grand jury. So you have to take. It's imperative. It's an obligation. It's a self-obligation to take a little bit of time to study the law, to digest the Constitution for your own salvation, among other things, because there is nobody who could do it for you. There's no external existence of another being except working in harmony with you that's going to save you. But you have to be involved. You can't not know. There is no, you know, somebody else knows and they're going to do it for me. I'm not going to do anything. You cannot pay anybody that amount of finance, because when it comes down to the come down, they could pull one of those on you and say, this person can't speak for you, specifically if they're under their jurisdiction, you know, and then you contracting with them still under their jurisdiction.
You mean like the attorney? Like the attorney, any attorney is under their jurisdiction, so you pay them and think they're going to speak for you, and that's not going to go down. That's not going to go down. When it's time, when it's show time for real, that's not happening. So you're left there by yourself. You're left there by yourself, right? And who's going to save you at that point? If the tongue is mightier than the sword, can you war your way or battle your way out of that situation? Because now all those thousands of notes you paid to this so-called attorney did you no good. When it was time to really get down to the get down, they was excluded from even speaking. That's the most important thing I think that we got out of what she said.
Yeah. And then also, even if they do speak, when you look at the position of impropria persona in your Henry Campbell Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, even if they do speak, that still admits the jurisdiction. Because it says in there that cases must be pled impropria persona, because if pleaded by an attorney, it admits to the jurisdiction of the court.
Yep.
So even if they're speaking for you, it's not a good look for more.
Nope.
Specifically those labeled Negro, Black, and Colors, packing these so-called jails right now with no fight until afterwards. And even with that, you know, there's challenges. But I'm just saying that this is why it's imperative to be aware of these things beforehand, not afterhand, not take them serious as an afterthought, but as a prevention for your salvation, your lifelong existence on this plane in this time, not waiting for Yahshua to come back in the form of a man that notice that you are all of these energies. You are that. You have to come back. So, again, that's the main thing I wanted to emphasize with this whole concept of people taking the passive role of, I'm not going to study, and, it doesn't matter because Raz knows, or because Taj knows, or because Anna E knows, or because Cujo knows, or because Miss Raheem knows, and all other Moors or whatever. No. What we know is sharing. This is why you have to take it serious as well. We've activated these things, and we're still here. So what I'm saying is that you yourself don't take it serious. The sister is already telling you, as a defense attorney, they can not speak for you in front of a grand jury. And I pray that anybody listening, I invoke that anybody listening really never even has to deal with this subject of dealing with these modern Europeans, because sometimes it could drain your energy, but at the same time you're exerting your energy for a greater cause in these particular times. So, but we could do a lot more creative things, but it's also something that we cannot neglect to recognize as imperative for our salvation. And before I yield the floor, I just want to say, keep in mind that ex parte aspect is always a violation of the Sixth Amendment jurisprudence of the Confrontation Clause. So know that no attorney can speak for you. Prophecy is real. The time has come where every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree. Every tongue must confess its own. You have to have the ability to do that. That's what all is coming down to, is to confess your own. With that said, I know there's a lot more to talk about. There's some other things that were on my mind. I know I don't want to take the conversation too far out, but the situation with the different shootings within the past 7 days, maybe not even that, 5 days ago or whatnot, I don't know. It's just so much to touch on. But that was my piece on that. So I yield the floor to John.
I just wanted to say one additional thing. When Ms. said that although the treaty is enforced, for us to recognize is that we have to make that claim. We're not like I remember I told you a few days ago I had this, well, it wasn't really a revelation, but I realized that our liberties are intact. They have gone nowhere. They are there for us if we would just exercise them. And if we did so collectively without all this division and controversy, conflict, and all that stuff, it would in fact be a breakfast fight. It would in fact be like over tomorrow. And so what I realize is that our liberties are intact. We're just not exercising them. And there's people out there, these corporations that are violating them. That's it, and that's all. And so I know, Annie, you have something to say, but I just wanted to say that this what this sister said, it doesn't matter whether she said it before or after the first interview we ever saw from her, where she was talking about, how Morris come in there and all this stuff. But it doesn't matter, because the information she shared was true to her feeling. And we reiterate that we trust that she will be graced from this point just for telling that truth, just that much, and that she would be safe from any other repercussions, because, the universe is, divine law is what it is, and I trust that, as I said earlier, that she will, after recognizing this, like being an attorney and a prosecutor, would actually read the law of the land and be able to see, where the violations are and where they have been and what part she has taken in it, and correct that. Islam.
One of the things that I really had a problem, well, there's a few things I had a problem with. One of them was when she was, cursing America. I had a big challenge with that, because she is an American. So she's cursing herself.
Yes.
She and her ancestral line, past, present, and future, they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And so she's saying, she's cursing America, which she's, lineal descendant of. Then she says, once again, she's cursing America. Well, which America are you cursing? What America are you cursing, and why are you cursing America when it is not America? Because America is a landmass. What part of the landmass has injured the people?
Right.
What?
Right.
The landmass that is called America has done nothing but through much attack by foreigners, continues to try to provide for her children. America has done nothing to the people. You have these foreigners who have done much to the people, but because this sister has demonstrated that even though she has worked in this system and appears to have climbed their corporate ladder on the back of her people, don't even know who she is working for if she's classifying them as Americans, okay? Because she referenced that she works for New York City. New York City is a corporation that was chartered by Charles II out of Great Britain in 1640. It previously was called New Amsterdam, and it was a corporation established by the Dutch Republic. But since they didn't have enough people who would volunteer, because New Amsterdam, that's the Moorish stronghold. They weren't enslaving people and forcing them to come over here. You had to come over here voluntarily. And so they didn't have enough, people who wanted to voluntarily come over here, so they couldn't hold down their sales territory. So what Great Britain did was they emptied out their prisons of the modern Europeans. And that's how they got enough people to come over here and hold down the sales territory and rename it from New Amsterdam to New York after the chartered person who came over here and did the corporate, was it the hostile takeover? Because, see, that's what we would call it in today's language. It was a hostile takeover, and that was done by the Duke of York, hence the name New York. And the Duke of York is the brother to Charles II, King of Great Britain. All right? So this sister doesn't even realize who she's working for. And then she says something else that was interesting, incorrect though it may be, interesting. She said the legislature needs to change the law. Okay, so what legislature is she talking about? Because according to the American Constitution of 1791, the only body that can write law is the legislature, and the power to do that is vested in the Congress, not any state legislature, because there is no such thing as a state legislature, not according to the Constitution. The only thing that the state can do under Article 2 of the American Constitution, under the President of the United States of America, is execute the law that Congress writes. So what is she talking about? Right. Because you're traveling around traveling on the land anywhere near New York City Corporation, and they try to arrest your unalienable, constitutionally secured liberties. They always give you a statute number. The statute number references a New York statute. Can't write laws, lets you know right away. According to the supreme law of this land, that can't be law because you're a state and you don't have any jurisdiction to write law.
Well, what do you think that her as a so-called being into the law would know that? Or
well, no, and I'll tell you why. Because all of these people running around here talking about, I'm an attorney, the only thing they go to school to learn is how to enforce code. And it's not a lot. They have, and you see, about 2 years ago, we listened to the Judicial Committee, the congressional hearing, and they let it be known that they write like 450 new so-called laws, their statutes, every year, all right? So now which one, and they have so many, they said this now, they have so many so-called laws, which they're not laws, they're statutes, because, see, even the Congress of today isn't the Congress of the American Constitution, which is why they only write statutes and not law, which is why there has been no new laws written since 1861, when the real de jure Congress adjourned in 1861. So what are they writing? Statutes. So there still has been no laws written, and guess what? There need not be any new laws written, because that American Constitution is the supreme law of the land. It covers everything from A to Z. The only missing factor is the people's knowledge of it and their position as it relates to it. Those are the only two variables that are missing. The majority of people don't know the supreme law of this land, and they don't know that they are the master to dictate how that supreme law of the land is supposed to be administered by anyone they choose to delegate authority to administer it to. So today you got people sitting. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to interject, and I don't want to use your thought. That's what the prophet meant, Prophet Nodrawi, in his writings when he said, and then I can't quote it exactly, but it said, if anyone does not answer up to their national constitution, they will be abused by the citizens in any way they wish to. That's it right there. They don't even know the Constitution supreme law.
No. That sister, she only knows how to enforce code because she is an attorney. And by definition, attorneys can only speak on behalf of fiction, inanimate object. Now, that's a contradiction in itself, because there is no inanimate object that costs the people unless you're standing on the sidewalk and the building falls on you. But still, that's still not the fault of the building. That's the fault of the builder. So there's still, you still look. Our challenge is information. We severely lack information. This sister, she demonstrated it. She told us some stuff that we could use, but she also demonstrated that even in her capacity, where she is now a district attorney, because if she moved up from being a so-called public defender to district attorney, so she ain't down there wallowing in the cesspool anymore. She probably got an office with a window. So she has moved up. Although it was on the back of her own people, she moved up. But even in her moving up, she still grossly lacks information. She don't know who she's working for. She don't know law. And she's enslaving her own people for profit.
Yep.
So she's still grossly missing information.
And ignorance of the law is no excuse.
Damn straight, it is not. And on top of all of that, she's still arrogant. Because I'm telling you, if I had a revelation like she did, man, I'd be giving alms and, donations You know, I'd be slaughtering a calf and putting it on the altar. I'd be doing anything I could do to get back in the goodness of grace, because I know that retribution is coming. I know it's coming, and I don't want it to catch me or anyone that I love. So I would be doing a lot to try and correct the errors of my way. The last thing I would be is arrogant.
Right.
Because she's still too arrogant for me. I would if I was going to do a public announcement, I would be hard pressed not to cry as I reflect on how many of my people I put in a prison and can't even fathom what their lives and their families' lives have been like ever since I sentenced my own family member to that living hell and went on to buy a big house on the hill. To the point where
but she's still different. She's still different. There's a whole lot of people who've done that.
She isn't. But my point is this. My presentation would have been a hell of a lot more humbling, considering how many lives I ruined for profit.
Well, I kind of sensed that in it. I almost sensed where it looked like she was about to break down. That's what I heard. And at the same time,
I didn't get that at all.
That particular presentation that she did there may have been, as far as we know, her first realization of it. It was more emotional.
The only thing I got was that she realized that, oh, shit, all of this I've been putting on other people, this is about to come knocking on my door and hit my son. And I thought that we was immune from that.
Hey, first
because that's what I got. Because here we have it now. Now let me just say this, because I saw something on Facebook, I think it was, where they had this big shot basketball player of all people, supposed to be recognized worldwide. They took him down. All right, so now even so-called celebrities aren't safe, and they're upset and angry. But here's the thing. These celebrities were immune until recently, but within their immunity, did they care about the people in the neighborhoods that many of them probably came from, that was being kidnapped off the street, no crime committed, no injured parties? Did they care? No, they didn't. But now that
that's what Pigeon was saying.
This municipal employee is knocking on their door, breathing down their neck. Now, we got to do something about this. No, what we got to do is recognize that like this sister, she gave us a little bit of information. She didn't really give us nothing that we didn't already know. And if you stick with that American Constitution 1791, you can slaughter all of these outlaws that are running rampant on American soil, calling themselves law enforcement, and they're freaking outlaws running around here, municipal employees talking about this is my badge. It's your employee identification badge. That don't mean jack. We as a people, we are the ones that got to wake up. If we don't wake up, these people will continue to use this generation and the coming generations to generate revenue because they don't care about nothing. She said, they hate us. Some people don't hate us. They love us. They love us, and they want us to continue popping babies out so that they can have a good source of revenue into the future. They don't hate us. They love us because we don't ourselves with information. So we're so easy to rob on a daily basis. They don't hate us. What other people on planet Earth can they abuse and use and will turn around and marry them? What other people? What other people do they want desperately to be like? What other people do they study and then turn around and talk about, well, I'm a Moor? No, I say no more. If you're a modern European, you better claim your nationality. I'll help you do it. But you ain't a Moor. You're not part of this family. They dress, they study our culture, they dress like us, they talk like us, they want to dance like us, sing like us. They don't hate us. They want to be us. Get it right. I'm sorry, that's what I got. That's you just got to see what's happening every day.
Yeah,
we
I know.
So let me ask, and this is just for everybody, what do you think is the reason for all of these murders after murders after murders that are going on? What do you think that's about? It's not hate, it's an agenda, right? Like, what's that?
Yes, it is. I think it is. On one hand, I think they're trying to incite the people to riot. Now, here's the thing. They can't really call martial law because martial law is about protecting the nationals. And there ain't enough, Asiatic people claiming to be a national.
That's right.
Really. Really, that's what it's all about. You can't call. Who you gonna call? If we got people out there running around talking about they're Negro colored, Black, African American, anything but declaring their nationality. What martial law would they be calling? Because martial law is about protecting the national.
Right. That's right.
And. Right, and we got to look at the Constitution to see who can call martial law. Because remember, the United States of America only has executive authority. That's it. They have executive authority. There is no president of the United States. There is a president for the United States of America, but there's no president for the United States. So when people want to talk about, he's the chief executive officer or whatever, the chief army, whatever, and they're saying that's what Obama is. No, Obama is the president of the United States of America. He is not the president of the United States. There is no president of the United States. Hasn't been for some time. So there's no one speaking on behalf of the nationals on American soil. You got the president for the United States of America who has to submit to the United States or al Americano. He's speaking on behalf of the United States, but he's not the United States. And just like Julie said, they never publicly go out and present themselves as the United States. They always present themselves as the United States of America. Well, actually, if you really pay attention to them, they switch back and forth because they know that's their propaganda machine, the TV. They know the majority of people is watching that. They don't even pick up on the switch. They don't pick up on it. United States of America. In the United States of America. They don't even pick up on that because the vast majority of the people who are watching that TV, they're asleep. So they can program their mind with any old piece of trash. And that's what they do.
Well, I think that these murders that are happening have always really been happening. It's just that
You're right. They have.
It's showing up.
You're right.
Know, the time
You're
is
right. You know what? You are so right. These murders have been happening for years and years. The only difference today is that people have this camera phone and they can record anything on a dime and throw it up on the internet. And so that's how come we have exposure. But these things they've been happening for years. There's a movie called American Violence. Now, what's amazing about that movie, as well as like movies like Cop, Cop, these things are showing you municipal employees in action. And I'm sure everybody has seen that series Cop, where it shows you these municipal employees literally killing, kidnapping people off of the street, imposing fraudulent charges with no injured party on the people. People can reference that series Cop, send it all around the world, and put a disclaimer on there saying this is the human trafficking that is happening on American soil right now as we speak. How long that series been going on, Cop?
Well, television, even they show you all of these so-called law enforcement programs, which is really desensitizing you to the bull, because that stuff ain't even wrong, and that's what they use to do it.
That's right. That's right.
So then, why do you think that they're going on right now? You asked the question, so you can answer.
You asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, honestly, my honest opinion, I mean, I don't think it's anything new. I just think that it's happening at a different frequency now. Like you said, where the camera phone is out there, you got your Facebook, you got your Twitter, you got your YouTube, digital media platforms. I don't know. I think I'll go back a couple of years. I wish I remembered the name of this clip. Excuse me, but it was two European dudes, and they posted a video on YouTube. And I remember before Trayvon Martin and all of these things, they were saying, like, listen, they was talking to all of the Moors in America, branded Negro, black, colored, etc. And what they were saying was that it's going to be a race war. They're going to try to incite a race war here in America, or Morocco, etc. Moroccanos. This is, well, they just said America, but we know what time it is. So, you know, they said they wanted to get out of that. It was two Europeans. I kid you not, after that happened, I mean, it wasn't but a matter of time, maybe a year or so later, that, you know, all of this just started waving, like on the social media, on the news, on the things, like this is what they were promoting every day, damn near. So I don't know, but I say what I think about the most recent ones, you know, being as though it came across the news like there was some more, or somebody labeled Negro, black, and colored, you know, went in on the policy enforcers out Dallas. So I just state for the record, or say for the record, excuse me, that I don't promote violence in any way, but, you know, with all of those other shootings, I didn't feel bad in any type of way. I just didn't. I'm never for innocent life or lives getting, destroyed or eradicated or taken away. But when I heard about that, I just didn't feel bad, because it's like it happens so many times to our people with no justification, whether they was, Moors in their proper person or branded Negro, colored, black. It's just been a slew of these murders. And the only thing that stands out to me, not the only thing, but the thing that is kind of disturbing is that I don't recall one of them that has been found guilty with the so-called judicial system. Like, not one. Nobody. Murdered on camera. Not guilty. Policy enforcement. It's not guilty.
Well, first of all,
right. But hold on. Let me see.
Go ahead.
Let me say that this is why I'm not trying to promote it, but I just simply didn't care that happened to them, because this has been happening by them to our people with a blatant middle finger attached to it. You know what I mean? And that's just why I didn't feel bad about the most recent one. But you know what I mean? Again, I'll say, keep the peace, but I think that might have put a second thought in all of their heads, because everybody got so soft. Everybody got, hands up, don't do anything. You know what I mean? And promoting the fiction of, quote unquote, Black Lives Matter and things like that. But going back to the fact that, you have to be able to speak for yourself, like what they said what the sister said, as far as you can't even speak for a client when it's before a grand jury. And know that if nowhere else, family, listen to what I'm saying, if nowhere else, if you was ever in a so-called court situation or legal situation, that is the hot spot for them labeling Moors, Negro, Black, Colored, and African American. I kid you not, anybody that ever caught a case that's a Moor, if they didn't put no work in before declaring their status and nationality, I guarantee you, if you look at your paperwork, they classified you as Black. That's a fact. So you having the obligation to speak for yourself, you will have to rebut that presumption of being Negro, of being Black, of being colored. Why? Because these are not right words. These are all adjectives, meaning they're not identifying words. And again, this is important. It connects back to etymology, because you have to be able to speak for yourself and know what you're saying. So when you let that fly on paper, like, you can try to defend your quote-unquote blackness on YouTube and on, social media, because you got the emoji of the black fist and all of this here. But trust me, try that in the courtroom. The outcome will be what the sister was just talking about. The clip you played at the beginning of this show, that will be your process of law. Though it's not due process, that will be the process, because that's just how they roll. Y'all think it's games when they playing on the Christian black codes. So say that before a courtroom. This is why we got a lot of brothers and sisters doing double-digit years. You know what I mean? Not even petty bids, not even skid bids, just stretched out sentences. So, it's an imperative thing. So again, I just say that, the recent shootings has been kind of crazy, because they always get this not guilty verdict, so-called. But again, it is what it is. I think that correlating it back to those two Europeans who said a race war was coming, that they knew what they was talking about, that this is not by happenstance at this particular time. I don't think it's just an accident. I think that is something that's intentionally being done, whether it be, because a lot of people say, oh, these are hoaxes, these are actors, this is a conspiracy, and things like that. And again, it just goes back to me, in law, because it seems like today everything is being taken as a joke. They're killing Moors on camera. Oh, it's a hoax. It's a joke. It's not real. You know what I mean? Moors is busting back on them. Or even those in their dead Negro, black, and colored, even though they can't be that. But then there's people busting back on them. Oh, that's a joke. It's a hoax. It's not real. Like, they don't believe nothing. Everything got a conspiracy attached to it. But so it was a clipping. You shared this where the reporter was talking about there was these many actors involved, and everybody thought it meant that it was a joke. It wasn't real. So I just want to share this for the record before I yield the floor. As far as the definition of actor, page 53 out the Henry Campbell Black's Law Dictionary, it says in old European law. So when you see the clip and they talking about actors involved, you need to know the difference between legalese and the language of commoners, because whoever was saying that was, compared to a Moor, yes, they're a commoner, but they were speaking law language. It's how I perceived it, When you think of actor, I don't necessarily think of a Hollywood person. I'm not thinking Jason Bourne. I'm not thinking Denzel Washington or, George Clooney or Halle Berry or whoever got a movie script next week. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking a lawful perspective, because it's not a joke out here at this particular point. I don't see it as that. Even if all of this is a hoax, it's not funny. You know what I mean? It's not funny. So, actor, page 53, Henry Campbell Black's Law, Old European law, it says a patron, a proctor, advocate, or pleader, one who acted for another in legal matters. And mind you, their language is Black Lives Matter. So they try to say or paint them as being actors for these people in this particular matter and whatnot. But it says, one who represented a party and managed his cause, an attorney, bailiff, or steward, one who managed or acted for another. The Scotch doer is the literal translation. Roman law, one who acted for another, one who attended to another's business, a manager or agent. A slave who attended to, transacted, or superintended his master's business of affairs, received and paid out monies, and kept accounts. So what I'm saying is, when you see a Roman talking about an actor, you can't put it past them that they're speaking about it from a Roman law perspective. So when they was talking about these many actors involved and things of that nature, they might have been trying to paint everybody with the broad brush, but they might have also been talking about a slave who attended to, transacted, or superintended his master's business or affair. So there's a lot of ways to look at that statement opposed to just being attached to that Hollywood state of mind. And nothing is real these days. Everything is theatrics. Like, nobody's getting killed. This is all funny. This is all games. The fact that if it is a hoax, the fact that they putting it on the news like that, it's not funny. It's not a joke. It's not a comedy. It's not. It's tired. It's tired at this point. That's all I can say. So I didn't mean to jump over the place, but that's my take on the shootings and things of that nature. Why, whether they be a hoax or real, it's just, it gives the feel or the vibe of the serious times right now, and that's just it. So that's my position on all of these shootings recently.
Islam. Well, already. Well, let's take
You were going to say something about something earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You probably
I think I was gonna mention, okay, because a lot of times, well, I should say the vast majority of people, they really and truly believe that they're going into a court when they're not. So before you can apply certain processes, or that you would apply, or to a lawfully seated court, you have to first be in a lawfully seated court. And that's why all of this is a fraud, because these people, look, and I say this quite frequently, according to Title 49, the drive, because this is the doors that they come through to harass the people and kidnap them in all manner. All right, everything seems to go back to Title 49, because it's in Title 49 that they say, oh, we need you to identify who you are. Okay, well, here's my identification. No, I need a driver's license. Excuse me? Since when does a driver's license become a lawful form of identification? All right? But if you're traveling on the land, they're asking you for this. If you're just, standing, waiting around for something, someone, or nothing, they're asking you for this. If you purchase property, they say you must register this as a commercial motor vehicle, because that's the only thing you could be registering it as, a commercial motor vehicle, because this whole Title 49 is based on interstate commerce. So in order for interstate commerce, which is the motor vehicle safety program, to get funded, they have to prove that there is substantial interstate commerce going on. How do they prove that? By compelling the people to register their property, and then on top of that, compelling them to get a driver's license, okay? So when you look at the definition of driver in Blackwell Fourth Dictionary, you see that it's talking about somebody who's employed to drive. But nobody's getting paid. Nobody's employed to drive the personal property that they purchased with these Federal Reserve notes. All right? You use the Federal Reserve notes as a means to exchange, because that's all they're accepting now. That's unlawful, but we're not going to go into that right now. All right? But the point is, you obtained personal property that now you got municipal employees telling you, if you don't register it as a commercial motor vehicle, we may possibly kidnap you and your property. All of this is fraud, because, like I said, Title 49 is a federal program, and within that federal program, the states are allowed to participate. It's not a state program, and they get funding. But since the state cannot have police powers, because by definition of police is actually military for a corporation, so now a state can't have actual military for the corporation. So what do they hire? They hire municipal corporation employees, or they hire or contract with municipal employees to administer the motor vehicle safety program on behalf of the state. So then the state gets a chunk of finance, and they give some of it to the municipal employees, the staff that the municipal corporation, which is support. Now remember, because it's a municipal corporation and it is receiving funding from the Fed, the municipal corporation is considered an employee, a municipal employee of the Fed, third party though they may be. All right? So now when you start looking at all of this, and you put this in some type of perspective. Now, the states, they're always quiet in this, but the municipal corporations are contractors for the state. So really what we need to be doing is to hold the states accountable for reining in their contracts. And don't tell me no bull crap about, well, you got to talk to the county, the county or the city personnel, like they got some kind of jurisdiction. The only way they can get over saying crap like that is because they're betting. They're betting, and it's a heavy bet that the vast majority of people stay asleep, never doing any type of research on where they are, what they are near, who actually is attacking them, and then go and put together a brief on the historical relevance and establishment of that entity. And then you got to go behind the corporate construct and pull out the flesh and blood people that's actually attacking you. Because if you go in there talking about, oh, New York City's attacking me, you're going to be looked at as incompetent because New York City is a fiction. It's an inanimate object. It doesn't even exist. It's not. You can't touch it. You can touch anybody on this panel, but you cannot touch New York City. It doesn't even exist. So we, as a people, got to wake up and take back our power. We're not weak. We're not ineffective. We're not inefficient. And we're damn sure not stupid. So we need to start acting that way. And it ain't that difficult to do. We need to take back our powers because these people are not going to give it back to you. You got to go take it. And the only way you can take it is if you are armed with information. And you can't be coming there talking about any commerce bullshit because your birthright is not a commercial transaction. It's human trafficking and genocide. So that's where we got to come from. That's where we got to come with, and we better come packing with information. You can't come half-stepping, and you can't come flying by the seat of your pants. So you got to sit down and study because you know what? Another thing that I'm seeing is everybody wants to save everybody else. Well, guess what? The prophet says there is work enough for everybody because guess what? Everybody is raped on a daily basis. Everybody. Has anybody sat down and tried to find their way out of this particular paper bag, but you trying to help other people and you in the same sinking boat as them? Come on. We got to wake up.
Not responsible. But I just wanted to add one thing on before we move on. I think we're probably about to jump into some callers. But
yes.
I log on this. It was on the news as of 2 weeks ago, and because you mentioned human trafficking, and I know there's the final call series going on now, as far as bringing people's attention to this. Like you said, we should have had this information, and we do have to keep it moving, But in respect to that. One of the most weakest ways I saw this in effect, or realized it was like a revelation to me, was that a sister, she had 6 children, if I'm not mistaken, and her oldest was 12 years old. And they had stole something from the store or somebody or something of that nature. When she found out, she whipped their ass. Pardon my expression, but y'all know the language. If you flash back real quick, she got at them, and what happened subsequent to that was they locked her up. They took her children from her because she disciplined them for stealing, because her intention was to make sure that what they took got returned back. And she ended up getting charged for actually whipping her children in discipline of that lesson. And she was saying, listen, this is how my mother raised me. When something happened that you wasn't supposed to do, you got a little discipline, you know. But for them to charge her, this is an Asiatic sister, with abuse, and not just that, they locked her up and took her children from her because she exacted obedience from her children when they did something as wrong as that. Like, they got charges against her now for that. That is the most sick human trafficking scheme I ever heard of. That's it right there for me. You know what I mean? Because they took her children. Because they took her children, for her absolutely laying down the discipline and the lesson for doing that. Do you get it? Like, y'all understand, right?
So that never learn and become disobedient into society, and they're going to take them, well, they already took them, so, you know.
No, they stripped the children from the mother because she beat them for taking something that wasn't theirs, and with the intention of returning it back. She went ape on them, and so they say anyway, but for that, they took the children. That's unconstitutional, because everything...
When you hear that as a mother, it makes you, like, cringe and, you know, really makes you sad, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, I wanted to add that on. That was another thought. My mind just correlating with the whole human trafficking scheme of things, you know, that they go to extents like that, among other things. So, yeah. So, just for the record, I yield the floor.
Islam.
All right. We're going to take some callers now. If you would like to ask a question, make a comment, or have a concern, press 1 on your telephone dial, and we will begin taking callers. Caller 678-542, you are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwestern Mexico.
Islam, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, this is Rashad L., Moorish American National and Propria Persona, Sejuris and the Juror, free white person and for life. I'm calling out of Northwestern Mexico, and this is my third time, I believe. I mean, I always listen, but I think it's my actual third time getting through, and I just want to tell y'all, definitely enjoying this broadcast, man, because it's like, as it was stated in the beginning, how things are manifesting in these times. It's like, with this particular broadcast, a lot of what's been discussed is what I've been through. This past, it was July the 7th, last Thursday, for the first time in my life, I was kidnapped. I never in my 28 years of life have I had handcuffs on my hand, but, you know, I was kidnapped this past Thursday for refusing to ID, and that was another thing that was discussed. So I just found it very, I'm not going to even say ironic, but again, it's just a manifestation, of things coming into fruition faster in these days and times. But in addition to that, I just kind of want to touch up on my experience without spending too much time on this particular topic. But basically, it's in a public place in Atlanta. This was before the protest. I don't want y'all to think it was because I was protesting or anything like that, because, you know, my opinion on that is a little different. But it was actually me just downtown. I was on a public grounds at the university, and I was about to go to the library, and it was a guy who was watching me the whole time. He was an undercover cop, and he just walked up on me like, yeah, why are you soliciting? I'm like, soliciting? What do you mean? I'm just walking around, about to go to the library, which I honestly was just walking around. And he was like, no, you soliciting. I saw you. And I was like, listen, if you don't expect me of a crime, which you said I was soliciting, there's no corpus delicti, then there's no crime, basically. And I'm not going to show you my ID if I haven't done anything wrong. So things escalated. He got back up, and I still stood on my square. I wasn't showing any ID to none of them. And they just put handcuffs on me, put me in the back of the car. And keep in mind, this entire time this is going on, they never, if I allegedly committed a crime, I was never read my Miranda rights. They never presented an accuser. And just to prove how much of a fraud this was, once they finally did force the information out of me, I don't carry anything on me but my nationality card. Now, I've been got rid of my contract not identification, but the contract card that they tried to pass off as identity years ago. So fortunately, I didn't have anything that would tie me back to the jurisdiction. And when they realized, you know, what I was saying was right, that I was a national, if I haven't committed a crime, they had no reason to keep me. You know, the guy came back to me in an entirely different tone, but by that time it was too late because they had me in the back of a car, so they ended up booking me. But he was trying to do this oh, come on, big man, you got to give me a name, et cetera. So I'm like, no, I told you I don't have a name, but, you know, they weren't hearing it at that time. So, and another thing as well, they actually, of course, they steal your property when they take you in and everything, but I had a stamp. I always carry a stamp on me, all rights reserved, because, you know, when I sign certain things, I always carry red and blue pens. They actually took my stamp, not knowing what it was, and I can hear them in the back just kind of talking amongst themselves. I heard one of them say, all rights reserved, and in my mind I'm thinking like, oh, okay, they must have got that stamp and figured out it said all rights reserved. But little did I knew, after I finally got out of being kicked out 4 days later, which that was an entire ordeal within itself, I looked in my wallet, and they actually just pulled a random one of my personal cards out of my wallet and used my stamp to stamp on one of the cards that was in my wallet. Now, even though it wasn't like, I'm sorry?
You said your stamp? I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, I was saying a stamp. I got a custom stamp that I got made, all rights reserved.
All right.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, just like whenever I sign stuff, so I won't have to always just write it out. I can just stamp it and sign right through it. But they took my personal property and was just stamping basically whatever they found in my wallet just to see what it said. And
that's destroying your property.
Indeed, absolutely. And it was just, and I'm gonna tell you how when the guy realized he really messed up was because when I got out of jail and I looked at the tickets or whatever like that, he said I was soliciting, but he didn't put soliciting on the ticket, which he gave me a traffic citation ticket, but I wasn't driving. But he said that I was not. He said I wasn't soliciting, but he changed it from soliciting to obstruction. And not only that, it said on the date, the date was, which this happened on July the 7th, 2016. The date on the traffic citation ticket said July the 6th, 2015. And then on another slip where it says I'm banned from coming to the public, which Georgia State University is public property, it says that I'm banned, and the incident took place July the 6th, 2016. So he went from 15 to 16. He went from 6 to 7, just showing how thrown off he was.
Intentionally voiding it, because if it's wrong, it's a void. It's a defective writ, and he's just saying this. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah.
I thought that too, but then the fact that I spent 4 nights in jail kind of made me figure I think this guy he just didn't know what he was doing, honestly.
Well, I wouldn't give them any credit.
Actually, let me ask you this. Did you have to give them any kind of income to get out of there?
Yes, I did, but there's another story that because...
All right. But here's the thing. See, they don't care about you coming into their meeting rooms and have a discussion. They created a void instrument because they were only interested in getting some upfront income. That's all. They didn't care about. That's why they don't care about those that so-called ticket summons suit that they gave you. They don't even care about that. That's why they gave you all that incorrect information. The wrong. You know what? They did that. I know somebody else. They did that too with the wrong time, wrong information. Everything was wrong. But what they count on is that they can get some finance up front out of you. because what they're probably finding is that if you come into these meeting rooms, they ain't getting no finance there.
And I knew that. That's why when they the first night that I went in, the first thing I did when I got my first phone call, I called my mother and told her, look, this is where I'm at. I just don't want you to be worried about me, whatever. Do not come down here because I'm not going to pay to get out or anything like that, which after 3 days, she just ended up bonding me out, which I didn't want her to do that because I know that was the whole point of it. They wanted income out of this whole thing, but it was a personal thing where she was saying she had a dream, and, you know, I just was like, all right, I mean, if you bonded me at this point, then I'm out. But I did have court. Well, it wasn't I know it's not lawful court, but they had, like, the next day a court hearing, and basically I stated my status for it on the record, going back to the conversation you was having earlier about an appointed attorney. You know, I refused that. I put my status on the record. I'm Rashad L., Moorish American National, et cetera, appropriate persona. I'm not pro se. I'm not representing myself. I will be presenting myself. This attorney does not represent me. I challenge the jurisdiction of the court, personam, territorial, subject matter, and it's like it was different this time because I know I've been to court before. The first time I did that some years ago, you know, when I was really learning about this information, and it was like I just went there on a whim and just said, I'm going to do this because I saw it on YouTube. I actually sent in paperwork before me. The risk preceded me. So it's like they had a kind of idea of who I was. But in this instance, they probably, and this is another thing, they associated me with the sovereign citizen movement. I told them, no, don't. I'm not tied or affiliated with the sovereign citizens. I am a Moorish American. That's my nationality. I'm not Negro, black, colored, African-American, Indian, any of those misnomers. And it's like this time, the magistrate was just sitting there. He was smiling the whole time, kind of like, I'm going to wait till you finish. And after all that, he was just like, pretty much, you're done. And I'm like, that's that. I just was putting that on the record. I don't consent to jurisdiction. I'm not going to answer any questions until you prove your jurisdiction. And he was like, well, all right, $2,000 bond. He sent me back to my cell. But one of the other I'll say slaves, for lack of better words, because that's what we were, and they're slaves. And the guy was telling me, well, when you left the room, one of the sheriffs leaned over and told me, oh, he just don't know. He was just going to let him off on a signature bond if he just kept his mouth closed. But I couldn't go off of that because you don't know, again, what they may. It's like you're going off of their mercy. You don't know if they may feel good one day or bad another day. And the fact that I've never had any type of, I got a clean record. I haven't had any type of misdemeanors. I've never been handcuffed before, any of that, regardless of my past. It's just the fact that I stood on principles and I wasn't going to back off my square. And I was willing to actually do what I was willing to do the days just for them to say, you know, it's dismissed, it's time served, before I give them any type of finance. But again, my family was concerned about me, and they were just like, you know, we're just going to pay this fine, and it's going to be a bond. But I doubt they called me back to court. And here's another thing. They tried to take my blood while I was in the – they had a they said, well, we got to do this. This is a medical thing where we got to take your blood for HIV, and we got to get a tetra shot. I told them, y'all absolutely are not taking any of my blood out of my sacred blood out of my temple, and you're especially not putting a needle in me. You know, that's a religious exemption. Y'all not doing that to me. They saw I was persistent, so they were just like, all right, whatever, just, you know, get them out of here again. And I'm just watching people just getting violated. You know, it's different when you actually know the violations that are done to us every day, opposed to you not knowing, you just going with the flow. But I'm just looking at everybody going through, just getting their blood taken, getting stuff put in them. You don't know what's in this needle, even though they tell you it's a tetra shot, but that could be anything. And then you wonder why you're sick later on. They took my national headdress off. You know, every time they would tell me to take it off, I wouldn't. They would snatch it off my head. I put it back on, snatch it off, put it back on, and finally just took it for good. But one of the guards asked me, what was my religion? And I told her, well, you know, you actually just violated my rights by even asking me that, and I don't want to discuss that. And she was like, oh, well, just F it then. You know, if you don't want to discuss it, I just went off on me because I didn't tell her. I didn't want to disclose that with her, which I didn't mind saying Islamism, but it's just the principles of, you know, y'all already violating me. I don't really want to have a discussion with any of y'all. So they denationalized me. They put race as black. They changed my appellation to a name, which on the slip, on the citation, they put John Smith, and then they just scratched that out and put Rashad L., I guess, because they figured, well, we can't just put John Smith. They don't have a social security or anything like that that's tied to it, so they just have to make up something. It's all types of fraud. But that was my ordeal, basically. So it's like I just finished one writ. That was the incident with my sister. You know, I finished and sent that out. Now I got to work on another writ, which I'll be finalizing this writ tomorrow to send out to the proper parties. And one more thing I want to add to as well is with the discussion that we was talking about earlier with the discussion y'all was saying with the attorney, which I can't remember her name, but it's like immediately when you said that, without even giving details, like her picture came in my mind because I remember seeing her on the couch talking about the Moors, and it seemed like she wasn't fully educated, and I figured, all right, I kind of brushed it off like she just don't know the full aspects of it, but I do see how things come at full circle when you have a certain demeanor about yourself, your attitude in terms of how you treat people. You can't have a certain attitude like you just know everything, even as a Moor. Like I know I still don't know everything because I'm still learning, but you have to humble yourself so you don't know what may be right or what may be wrong, and it can come back to bite you. And even when she was giving an illustration about her child, she has to explain to her child, oh, this is why this white child can have a BB gun, and this is why you can't have a BB gun. But the first thing that came to my mind when she said that was the prophet said that we shouldn't even have a pocket knife on us, because the times that we're living in, people can use that against us to say, oh, he has a weapon. And the first thing, they're going to try to do with us especially is gun us down. So that was another thing I thought of when she mentioned that. And I'm also glad that I didn't carry any type of weapon on me, because the fact that I didn't have an ID, they didn't have jurisdiction by itself with that alone. But then if I had like anything I had on me that they could have used against me, I'm confident they would have used that to say, okay, this is enough for us to book them. But they didn't have anything on me to book me, so they pretty much kidnapped me, and I had to pay a ransom, or my family had to pay a ransom to get me out. And, that was my ordeal. But, yes, I yield the floor with that. I just wanted to get all of what I had to say out thoroughly without just going back and forth,
All right, Islam. Thank you so much for that.
Islam, thanks. Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
No. I don't mean that was a lot, like too much. I'm just saying, wow, went through it. And I understand why your family, especially your mom, felt you was in danger, because truly you were, really.
So they put me in a room. I'm sorry. They put me in a room. I didn't sleep for 2 days. I didn't have no food for 2 days. Like I was in there for 4 days. The third and fourth day, they finally gave me oranges, and I had water like once a day, but like the third and fourth day, I only had water like within the first 38 hours. So they wasn't even feeding us probably like all types of human violations. 10 people in one room like sardines was just laying out on the floor because we hadn't slept in days. And when they finally gave us a bunk, they put me in a room with a guy who had mental issues. So good thing he wasn't, hostile towards me, but I seen him go off on one of the guards. But it just goes to show that I was protected while I was in there, because he could have easily just snapped on me. But, the fact, for whatever reason, he didn't, I ain't going to say for whatever reason, but I was protected. But the fact that they screen people before they put you in certain bunks, this guy had mental issues. He was talking to himself. As I'm sleeping on the top bunk, I can, and I'm not laughing like it's funny, but just thinking back on it now, I can hear him underneath me talking about, I'm going to kill them. When I kill them, I'll kill them. And then he was saying random stuff like Nightmare on Elm Street. It's crazy stuff like that. And I'm thinking like, man, y'all put me in a room with this guy, and I can't, if something go down, I can't get out of here. I'm stuck. Y'all ignore me when I press the button saying bring me water. So if someone was to really go down with me and this guy in here, it wouldn't be a good thing for me. Put it like that. I ain't going out with a fight, but it's not in my best interest to be in a room with somebody like this.
Exactly. Wow.
So
you just explained human trafficking at its best right there. And treating people. I mean, they wage war against the people. We just erroneously think they're government and don't know the law, and for generations and generations have allowed it to happen. So they got used to it. This is how they feed their families, and it's going to change. It's going to happen.
And it's a lesson too, man, because I've never been to jail before, so just to get that feeling of not something that you would want to experience, but just knowing what I'm standing on, it's something that's very possible that can happen where I could be kidnapped. So that now that I have a kind of like put my foot in the water with that, it's like, okay, I know how this feels like, even though it could have been worse. I'm thankful it wasn't worse than that, but it's like, okay, in this fight that I'm fighting and what I'm standing on, it's a possibility that this could happen. It could happen again, which I'm not willing to manifest in that it does, but it's a possibility, And,
I think it was meant to happen so that you can really see for certain, what it really is and what your mission is all about.
Yes, Yes, I agree.
Oh, yeah. And not to, for none of us to acquiesce to it, but to fix it,
Indeed. And it can happen to anybody, whether you're Moor or not. So it's like if they're gonna violate you anyway, why not stand on the principles of nationality?
You have to, because that's the key. It's national.
What do you have to lose? You already
but
losing,
here's the thing: it's national and international issues that can be corrected, provided the people would claim their national status. It's crazy.
Indeed.
It's all about the status. Yeah.
Indeed.
Otherwise, there's not enough nationals claiming to be nationals or acting as they are or being as they are. You see? So, yeah.
So, but yeah, I just wanted to share that with y'all, man. Thanks for all the good information that y'all get on the program again. I'll continue to listen and spread the word. I've been letting people know about the Moors for the longest now. So just keep uplifting, following humanity, and I yield the floor with that. Islam, shalom, peace, love y'all, and be safe.
Thank you.
All right. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
All right. Our next caller 215-421. You are live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest New Mexico. This is Rob. Caller 215-421.
Islam family. Sorry, I had the mute button on. Peace and love to everybody on the line tonight. How you doing?